Hello there, Casual Dumpling here. This is my Season 2 character. I decided to play a Sorcerer, a fire dot build, which I think might be actually worthwhile this season due to the changes to the damage buckets and the way damage is calculated, how they change the formula. This is my build, my variation of the build, and my recommendation for you if you want to have an easy time and fun at the same time. It's very safe build with a lot of sustain and some defensive options, mobility options, and overall cool skills, and your entire screen will be burning, so that's also additional bonus, right? So without further ado, here are the skills. I want this video to be very short, so let's start from the top. I'm gonna start with Firebolt just to get additional source of burning. The more sources of burning we have, the more unique sources of burning we have, the more damage we'll do in certain situations. In addition to that, it will pierce, so it will make spreading that effect easier. And also the glinting Firebolt is very good. And that's why you really want to go invest those 3 points, because it will buff your burning damage by 25% against that particular enemy. So it will buff all your other sources of burning, so that's great. Next on, in core skills, we are not using any skills. We're going straight for Potent Warning to increase that all resistances, which are much more important this season. So that will be nice for us. As for defensive skills, I have 2 points here. It's really up to you which defensive skill you'll choose, except Teleport. I think Teleport is mandatory. Maybe not because it's that you cannot play this build without it, but it's just such a useful tool to have, and it's such a cool ability. The range on it is very good, very far. You can teleport very far with it. So as you can see, I can just zoom from one end of the screen to the other. There is a very short delay when you're casting it, so it's not as instantaneous as in other games, like for example Diablo 2. So you may have to get used to that, but other than that, a very good skill. Not only will it teleport you, will it let you get out of sticky situations, but you can actually reduce the cooldown when you're teleporting through enemies, but you will also get a significant portion of damage reduction after you cast the teleport skill. So I really recommend it. As for the other defensive skill, it's really up to you. All 3 are great. The Freeze, the Frost Nova will let you crowd control enemies and will give you a lot of breathing room. Ice Armor will just give you that nice amount of barrier. It will make dealing with certain situations much easier with large groups of enemies. And Flame Shield is just good all around. I've decided to use Flame Shield just because I can use it both defensively, because it gives me immunity for 2 seconds, but I can also use it offensively. So enemies around me will burn. It will be one of those additional unique burning effects, which will, in certain situations, again, increase our damage even further. Enhanced Fire Shield, good to have, nothing really special, because it will give us some additional movement speed. And Shimmering Flame Shield is quite good, because you'll very often use the Flame Shield either preemptively, when you know that you'll receive a big spike of damage, or an elite or a boss will hit you with a telegraphed move, or when you notice that your health is dropping really fast. So for example, you notice that your health dropped to 50%, you'll drop Flame Shield, activate Flame Shield, you'll be immune, and you will heal 50% of that missing life. Great defensive and nice offensive tool. As for Conjuration, this build will rely on Hydra, and at the moment I have only 1 Hydra, because I really don't want to waste any resources to imprint my legendary affixes on my gear. So 1 Hydra now. In the future, I believe you can have 2 or even 4 Hydras active at the time. When we're healthy, our Hydra will have additional head, which is great, so we want to stay healthy. Also, our Hydra will burn our enemies for 60% of their base damage. So it's important to remember that it's base damage, not critical damage and anything like that. As for mastery, I'm going for firewall. Again, I want this to be a burn build, so I'm stacking burn wherever I can. Firewall is a really nice amount of burning damage. It will also increase the burning damage while enemies are under the effect of firewall when they're standing in it. And also very nice mage's firewall. It will allow us to deal damage to enemies even for after they have left the area of the firewall for 3 seconds. So normally we cast firewall, and if the enemy is standing in it, it will receive damage, but in this case the enemy just has to pass through the firewall, or just will drop it right underneath them, and then if they step out of it, they'll still continue to receive damage for 3 seconds. So it's really nice and very useful, because for example when you're fighting against ranged enemies, you'll just drop firewall beneath them and they'll stand in it most of the time, no problem. But when you're fighting against ranged enemies, yes, you can drop it right in front of it yourself and just tank those hits. But if there's a lot of enemies and you don't feel safe, you can just drop firewall. The enemies will continue to move through it. Will kite them, for example, from left to right, left to right, left to right, etc. They'll continuously be under the effect of fire, which is something we really want. As for our ultimates, I decided to use Inferno. Probably later on I'll have to drop it for some additional defensive skills, but at the moment it's quite good because it's a nice chunk of damage. And it's a great crowd control tool, because let me show you how it looks like. A big snake appears and will squeeze everybody into the center. So when you're fighting against ranged enemies, mostly melee enemies, it will prevent them from going outside of the range of the snake. So it will keep squeezing them inside, and then you can just start dropping firewalls underneath them. What is also nice about the Inferno is that not only will it pull it, just like I said, but it will also make all of your pyromancy skills cost no mana for the time being. So when you use it, you can just start spamming your firewall under your enemies, and as you can see, I was not really using any mana, so that's great. We're going for some passive nodes here. One interference surge to get further. Endless fire, which means that basically your enemies will receive even more burning damage the more they stay under the effect of burning. So after 5 seconds, it will increase by 15%. So quite substantial amount. Now, the most important one here is warmth. Warmth will heal you for 0.9% when you have it maxed of your maximum health for each nearby enemy. That's really a lot. So, and when you're fighting bosses, it will be 1.8%, and so not such a substantial amount, but still noticeable. So usually you're fighting a lot of enemies at once, like 5 is very common, 10 is also quite common. So you just burn them all up, and they're all under the effect of burn. And then you're healing for really substantial amounts thanks to warmth. And if you combine it with one of our vampiric powers, Undying, which actually gives you also a percentage of your health whenever you are casting skills, it's a substantial amount of sustain, much easier to stay alive, and you don't really have to rely on your healing potions as much. That's why I decided to go for warmth. Very nice skill. And as for our key passive, I'm going for combustion, because again I want the theme of the build to be burning. So 20% increased burning damage, and also 2% per unique source of burning you have applied. So that is why we have burning here, burning in firewall, firebolt, in Hydra, in flame shield, wherever we can, and also in Inferno. So wherever we can, we are applying different unique sources of burning. As for my abilities and the Sorcerer mechanic, I do have, not sure why it's not here, I have Hydra and Firewall at the moment. because it's nice to have additional source of damage. In the future, when I will have more Hydra hits from the Hydra skill, when I have more lucky hit chance from, for example, from the precision magic, I will most likely put 1 point into Frost Nova, and then I will put that in here instead of Hydra, because this will allow me to unleash Nova, Frost Nova, through Hydra, so that should be nice. So yeah, as for the Vampiric Pass, I really don't want to focus on this, because it's very hard to recommend anything during leveling, because your gear has different slots, you'll unlock them in different order, because it's completely random, so I'm not really going to focus on that. I'm just going to show you what I have. Undying to stay alive, Resilience to help me stay alive. The less hit points I have, the more damage reduction I get. Hit the Coven to be able to regain some of my resources and increase my damage from Hydra. And also Anticipation, just to get the reduced cooldown on Inferno. So yeah, that's how the build looks like at level 40. While you're leveling, before you get to Hydra and before you get to Firewall, you may want to use Arc Lash, because it's just easier to attack multiple enemies with it, and also focus on Incinerate. You want to funnel your enemies, you want to block them in crowd control, or lead them through doors or narrow alleys or places when they will have to actually group up, and then just burn them up. It's really, really good, especially with one of the vampiric powers, which increases your damage and reduces damage you take while channeling. So when you don't have the Hydra and Firewall, definitely you can go for Incinerate, and it will be also very, very good. So that's it, that's how the build looks like, that's how the build plays. Very easy to stay alive, very easy to heal yourself. You have crowd control, you have mobility, you have damage. I've done some strongholds, I've done a lot of the new area, I've done some of the bosses from the PvP zones, and it was all quite easy. So yeah, that is my recommendation from you. Have fun with the build, good luck, and take care. I hope Season 2 treats you well and you're having fun. Bye bye.